Terraria, a 2D Minecraft wannabe. Really? A wannabe with nearly 5,000 items, 17 bosses, and 14 event bosses? How many bosses does Minecraft have? Oh, only 2. I don't want to make this video about which game is better, because both are great games, but still many compare Terraria to Minecraft. I've been playing Terraria back when Hallowed Armor was the best, and Skeletron Prime was the last boss, but ever since, Relogic has just been adding more and more and more to Terraria. For those who haven't played or touched Terraria in a couple of years, might have forgotten some of the game's phases. You have pre-hard mode and hard mode, pre and post Plantera, and the lunar event that leads up to the Moon Lord, and then some. So yeah, that's a lot of things to do in Terraria, but let's start at the beginning. We start with making our character, and I went with the tried and truly classic, so I only dropped money on death. Gave him a name and a look, but that doesn't really matter because he'll be covered in drip. Now it's time to make the world. Seed and name random. I like my worlds large for all the loot. Not going master, I'm going expert because you don't really get anything new in master mode, just more pain, and I really don't want to do that again. Last, I went with corruption because I usually go crimson because it's superior. I wanted something different, and now with all that being done, it's time to start playing. At the start, I make a little safe house just to prep for the night. After the house, it's time to see what the world is like. So I head west, I find some loot and the jungle, so I know the dungeon is to the east side of the world. After that, I recall home, make the house bigger for more NPC rooms, and start a spot where the elevator will go. I go down into the caves for more loot and a bunch of platinum, for 2 things. 1, full set of armor and pickaxe, and 2, is for a bunch of platinum crowns. Why do I want so many platinum crowns? Well, it's for summoning King Slime. The only reason for summoning him are for all the gel you get, and all his drops. For money. I just sell everything he gives. I like spamming torches so the gel is needed, and the money so I can buy items. One item I want to buy early on is the mini shark because of how strong it is, but I need the arms dealer for that, and the way to get him is to have at least 1 bullet or bullet firing weapon in your inventory. Best way to do that is to head over to the corruption, go down to the bottom, find the shadow orb, and destroy it. Hopefully you're lucky and you get it on your first try, because if not, then good luck with the Eater of Worlds. Now that we have the arms dealer, it's time for the mini shark, and pylons. With NPCs, you can buy pylons that let you teleport to the biomes around your world, but the NPCs need to be in the correct biomes, and I want to get all the ones I can for faster world travel. By now, you might have noticed that I'm not max health, and there's a reason for that. If you have a certain amount of health, you'll start to have random events. I want to prep and do a couple of things before they all start to happen, and those things are getting a full set of molten armor and pickaxe, set up a boss arena, set up a farm for plants so I can make buffs, and fishing. Yes, fishing, because it's very useful and I want to get the cell phone as quickly as possible. Quick editor's note, I haven't played on all of the updates for 1.4, so I had no idea you can make a shell phone. In order to get molten armor, I need to mine hellstone, but I need the nightmare pickaxe since my world is corruption. So off to the corruption to set up an arena for the Eater of Worlds. Struggle building it. No. Finish setting up the arena for the Eater of Worlds and then immediately dying to him. So I go to the Eye of Cthulhu, peasy easy, first try. So I summon him as much as I can and I get the best pre-hard mode shield. Now with this huge boost in confidence, I go back to the Eater of Worlds and Okay, now it has dawned upon me that I may need more health. So now it's finally time to get my payback. Easy, first try. After killing him, I now have the materials for the nightmare pickaxe, so off to hell with that and some obsidian skin potion, find a nice vein of hellstone, and start to mine. Oh, goblin army approaches from the east. So I mine as fast as I can, without a mining potion because I forgot, and now I pull off the ultimate Terraria big brain move. As my brain is firing on all cylinders, I make the molten armor and start to get rid of the goblin army. Once you defeat them, you now have access to the Goblin Tinkerer. And now it's time to find that damn goblin somewhere down in this goddamn... Oh, that was pretty fast. With the goblin on our side, we now have the best workstation in the game, the Tinkerer's Workshop. This allows you to combine 2 or more accessories while having all the abilities in one item slot. Since I have the Tinkerer's Workshop, I go to the Sky Islands for the shiny red balloon and the lucky horseshoe. Use those 2 with a cloud and a bottle to make the blue horseshoe balloon. Now I have increased height jump, a double jump, and I no longer take any fall damage. Another great thing with the Goblin is that he can reforge your items, just not armor, for modifiers that can make it a lot better or completely useless, which you get a majority of the time for some dumb reason. With all that being done, I now want to focus on prepping for the jungle, so I make some potions. Sadly, since I have a corruption world, I can't make as much as I'd like. But with the ones I have, I go to the best damn biome in the damn game. The jungle is the hardest and most annoying biome, whether it be above ground or underground. But while underground, I also wanted to make an area/arena for Plantera, to spawn the bulbs and to fight her in. So this is what I made. Was it worth all the deaths? I don't know. But the loot from the jungle makes it a lot more worth it, and plus all the buggies, sluggies, and grubbies for fishing. Speaking of fishing, I thought I'd be doing it more, but since I know this world won't be a main world that I'll be coming back to, I only fished for the things I need, because I decided to spend more time getting gear and getting ready for bosses. After the jungle, I head over to the dungeon, set up an arena for Skeletron, wait for night, fight him. It's not a hard fight, but there were some close calls. Once you defeat Skeletron, you now have access to the dungeon for 3 items. 1 is the Shadow Key, so that I can open the Shadow Chest in Hell. 2 is the Cobalt Shield for a later hard mode craft. And lastly is the Muramasa for the Night's Edge. Terraria is known for its complex crafting system. The game features a vast range of items that can be crafted using different materials and crafting stations. 2 of the most essential crafting stations in the game are the Tinker's Workshop and Altars. We already know what the Tinker's Workshop does: combine and modify existing items. The Altars are the same, but you can also craft boss summoning items there. The amount of items you can make is crazy, and what's crazier is that with all those items, you can craft them and combine them down into one item. Whether it's a weapon like the Night's Edge, which takes 4 different swords, 3 of them have to be crafted and 1 found in order to make it. But it doesn't end there, because with the Night's Edge in hard mode, you can take the souls of Fright, Might, and Sight to make the true Night's Edge.
But wait, there's more.
Then you take the true Night's Edge, combine it with the true Excalibur and a broken hero sword to make the Terror Blade. And you guessed it, you can still use the Terror Blade to make 1 more sword. Another great item that has a huge crafting tree is the Ankh Shield, which gives you knockback immunity and immunity to 12 different debuffs. But that's a hard mode craft. If you don't know what I'm talking about when I say hard mode, it's not a setting on your character, it's tied to your world. Hard mode is a phase of the game that occurs after defeating the Wall of Flesh in the Underworld. Once in hard mode, it significantly increases in difficulty and introduces new events, enemies, and loot. When a world enters hard mode, several changes occurs. A new biome is added, the Hallow, and now the corruption or crimson will start to spread throughout the world at a faster rate and change the landscape. Enemies become more powerful and numerous, and new bosses are introduced, such as the mechanical bosses and Plantera. But that's all later on in hard mode, and I need to prep for hard mode after I've cleared out the dungeon of all its loot. Similar to the Elevator, but going horizontal, Hellway, Hellroad? You want to make a horizontal line of whichever block you want. Note that some blocks make you move faster, that's why I make mine out of ice. I like to make mine reach near the end of the world so that it's long enough in case I need a bit more time to kill the Wall of Flesh. Once the Hell Bridge is done, I get the Guide Voodoo Doll, head back to the edge, summon the Wall of Flesh, and die. I didn't think I'd struggle with this fight, but I guess I did. So after respawning, I get the Demon Scythe, go back down, summon the Wall of Flesh again, and this time, I defeat him. Now the race is on for getting the Steampunk NPC, because she sells the Contaminator, which helps stop the spread of corruption, and since it's hard mode, it'll start to spread faster, and I really don't want my world to be covered in corruption. But before getting her, I want to see which hard mode ores my world gets, because when you defeat the Wall of Flesh, you get the Pwn Hammer, which is the only hammer that can break altars. When you break the altars, your world will be blessed with new ores, and the first break you'll either get Cobalt or Palladium, on the second break you'll either get Mithril or Orichalcum, and on the third break you'll either get Adamantite or Titanium. So whichever 3 you get will be placed in your world each time you break an altar. And I recommend to leave at least 1 altar somewhere in your world so that you can use it as a crafting station. My world was blessed with Cobalt, Orichalcum, and the best hard mode ore, Titanium. Why is it the best? Because it's Titanium. There's no point in making any of the first 2 hard mode ores armor sets. Best to just get enough ore for a pickaxe and then go to the next one. Do the same, and now you get enough of that one for the last hard mode ore for a full armor set, pickaxe, and whatever else you want to make. For me, I only made the titanium armor and the pickaxe. In order to get the Steampunk NPC, we need to defeat at least one of the mechanical bosses, the Destroyer, the Twins, or Skeletron Prime. I want to take on the Destroyer first because he's not that hard of a fight, but I need a few things before fighting him. One is the Meteor Staff, or as I like to call it, the Madara Staff.
2個目はどうする、大野木。
Second is a few potions, because I want more buffs before the fight, and the way I'm going to fight him is a bit cheesy, but I'm a big fan of cheese. So I get all the things I need, head up to the sky track, and summon him. I fought him plenty of times before, and even took on all 3 mechanical bosses at once. So I don't want to really fight him, I just want to defeat him as fast as I can, so that I could get the steampunk NPC. With her, I buy the
Contaminator
and purify my jungle since the Hallow spread to it and I really don't want my Planetary Arena to become useless. Once done with that, I start to prep for the other 2 mechanical bosses. So I go into my other world that has Crimson so that I could farm for Ichor for the debuffs and fishes for buffs. This is why I love Crimson, it's just so much better than Corruption. With the Ichor, I use it to craft bullets, and I was planning on using my Mini Shark and upgrading it to the Mega Shark, but a traveling merchant was selling the Gatling gun, so I immediately bought that. The second mechanical boss I take on is the Twins, one of my least favorite bosses to fight. So I use a Gravitation Potion with all my buffs, and I just go from side to side from my world. It was a close call too at the time, because if I was any slower, they would have gone away, and I would have had to done the whole fight again. Now it's time to take on Skeletron Prime. It can be difficult, especially when you get caught on him when he's spinning at you. Just like the Twins fight, it was a close call with the time, but I just barely managed.
What the fuck was that?
Yeah, I thought I would have enough time, but I didn't, so fast forward the day, and I make sure to start the fight right when it turns nighttime. After defeating all 3 mechanical bosses, 2 things happen. 1, the dungeon gets more enemies and loot, and 2, your world will start to spawn Plantera bulbs in your jungle. I thought I couldn't fight her just yet because I was thinking maybe I should get some gear or upgrades, but I still went into the jungle and I saw that my arena was working nicely for her. So I break the bulb and spawn her, and the whole time I was fighting her, I honestly thought I was gonna die, but I had the meteor staff, which helped a lot. And when I defeated her and opened the treasure bag, I got her stuff, but I also got red set, so that was a very nice surprise. After defeating Plantera, it gives you access to the jungle temple and the boss inside, Golem. The jungle temple is very annoying with all its traps and lizard people just running at you, and the loot from the temple it's okay. I didn't need much of it, I just wanted to kill Golem as fast as I can, because I really don't like fighting him. You're just stuck in a tiny room with this guy, and you can't even break the temple blocks yet, so you can't open up the room more. But with clarity and grace, I managed to defeat him in his own house. God, I hate fighting Golem so much. When you defeat Golem, you now enter the endgame phase. So back at the dungeon, there'll be a new boss, the Lunar Cultist, and then after him, you'll get the 4 celestial pillars to spawn in your world. Solar, Vortex, Nebula, and Stardust. All with their own types of enemies and loot. Before I fight him, I want to prepare a bit. I want to use chlorophyte bullets in this fight, so I make sure to mine a bunch of it in the jungle. For those who play Terraria, you already know the classes you can play as. Melee, Magic, Ranged, and Summoner. Each set of armor in hard mode has 3 different helmets you can make, and each with their own set bonus. Usually you want to match your armor set with the class you want to play as. For example, if you go Magic, you want to use Magic armor set, Magic weapons, and Magic accessories. I don't really stick to a class, I usually just use whatever I feel like will be fun. Like I said earlier, I haven't played on all the 1.4 updates, so I had no idea you could have 3 classes on your character with 3 different loadouts. Yet, I still didn't use this on this playthrough, but I know I will on a main character. So continuing this playthrough, I fight the Lunar Cultist and win. He is a difficult boss, especially when you hit the wrong one when he does his Shadow Clone Jutsu. If you can't defeat him with wings, then the next best thing is a flying mount, so maybe one of those will help in the fight. Immediately after defeating him, your world will then spawn the 4 celestial pillars, and the solar pillar spawned right next to the dungeon, so I tried to take on the solar pillar, but seeing that I'll get overwhelmed, I immediately recall. Lucky for me, the solar eclipse happened right after, so I can finally make the Terra Blade. And with that, I go to the Stardust Pillar first, just like everyone else does, to make the Stardust Dragon Staff. Second, I go to the Vortex Pillar. Third is the Nebula Pillar, and I leave the Solar Pillar last. If you think you could take on the Moonlord already, then go ahead and break the last pillar. When you break it, you have just a bit of time to prep before the Moonlord spawns in, so make sure you have everything ready for that fight. When you finally defeat the Moonlord, you'll be given Luminite ore to make Luminite bars for the Celestial armor sets. But you'll probably need to take on the 4 pillars again if you want to make any of the full armor sets. So that's it. The Moonlord's the last boss you fight. Well, yes and no. I didn't do it in this playthrough, but you still have a few more bosses and events. The Old One's Army event, Pumpkin Moon event, and the Frost Moon event. There's also the Pirate Invasion and Martian Invasion. All of these come with their own sets of enemies and loot. So if you haven't done any of those and still want more Terraria content, you can try taking on those events. There's just so much to do in this game, and I love it. I've spent hundreds of hours in Terraria, and I've enjoyed every second of it, even the BS boss fights at times. But with all my time in Terraria, I've never played with any mods. I know, crazy, right? Especially since how big the Calamity mod pack is. It's basically a whole nother Terraria game. So if you really want more Terraria content, then you could just start with mods. One day I'll most likely do a Calamity playthrough, so if you want to see that, maybe consider subscribing. It's free, just saying. And yeah, that's the end of the video. Hopefully you enjoyed watching it. If you did, maybe leave a like and comment on why, or a dislike if you didn't. Also, I'm probably live on Twitch right now, so maybe leave a follow there too. I might be streaming Terraria or another game. You won't know until you click the link. Come on, you know you wanna. Please.